And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is week 6 of the MLR 2024 season, our review and power rankings. We are 1/3 of the season in the books. These past 6 weeks have gone by real quick, in my opinion, and honestly, a lot of these matches have been phenomenal. We had quite a few really exciting games this week as well. A very starting to become almost not as rare as it used to be. Another draw in the MLR action. We'll see how that changes things in our power rankings. There was a few movements, definitely a little bit more than last week. So let's get into it. Again, if you've never seen my power ranking videos before, how I rank these teams is not based off of win-loss records, who's on top in each conference and the standings. It's really about what you do on the pitch, who you play against, who you beat, how do you beat them, where you play at. Are you beating a lower ranked team? Are you a lower ranked team beating a higher ranked team? I mean, a lot of things go into it. It's a little bit of actual thought to go into these power rankings, and there was some serious thought from me in this one because I really did feel that some teams should be moving up. Other teams may be a little disappointing in their performance. I don't like to drop teams if they win because winning is everything. But I also don't want to keep teams high if they're not winning in a way that they should. If you're a number one ranked team, you should be slaughtering technically a 10, 11, 12 ranked team, correct? And if you're a 12, 11, 10 ranked team and you're beating or you're close to beating a upper ranked team, there should be some sort of reward for that. Again, I also don't like to reward teams that are losing because if you don't win, you don't win. But there is a situation here where I had to make some changes just because it was really, really a good game, and I don't want to go too much into detail. So let's get straight into it. Something that really wasn't up for debate. But again, I'm seeing a lot of improvements with this team. The number 12 ranked team, once again, Anthem Rugby Carolina, or Anthem RC, once again losing. This team is winless so far, losing to Utah 19-44, but let's talk about it. Now, Utah has been struggling quite a bit, and we'll talk about that when we get to Utah. So, by the halftime, Carolina was not doing too bad. I believe they were only... they were up by a couple points at the half, but unfortunately, after the half, Utah just remembered, who they were, and they ended up pouring it on. I believe even with a yellow card on Utah was able to come from behind. Again, they were down 19-15 at the halftime. Carolina was actually up 19-15, and then Utah in the second half just started pouring it on. I believe it was 3 unanswered tries at the end, and Utah ended up coming back 19-15 to win 44-19. I feel at that point, at the end of the game, Anthem just had nothing left in the tank. Like I said, value and effort in the first half of the game. Utah is struggling quite a bit in these last couple of games, and Anthem tried their hardest to kind of get their first win in franchise history, but unfortunately, they just ran out of gas. Again, if you don't know the story about Anthem Rugby, they are a developmental team. They're purposely being used to groom and to grow young American-born players purposely that are around the age of 20 to 23 who probably would not be able to start on other teams that have a lot more experience, a lot older players. But this team, Anthem, purposely is to get a lot of young American-born players, give them the opportunity to start in a position that he normally wouldn't be, learn, grow, compete on a high professional level against some very talented international players as well as American players, and then grow from there in hopes of developing those players into future Eagles players in preparation for the World Cup in 2027, and of course in the World Cup that's going to be hosted by us here in 2031. And they're looking really good. Honestly, they're looking really good. Don't let the scores fool you. I feel there's a lot of potential in a lot of these players, especially like Oscar Collar, their fly half. A lot of talented players on this team. David Still, who has Rugby Sevens experience, scored another try in this game. A lot of talent in this team, and I guarantee you, year 2, year 3, we will see a much more competitive and not a winless Anthem team. Now, here's where I had to kind of move things around a little bit. Dropping a spot to number 11, your other new team on the block, the Miami Sharks, who ended up losing to the reigning defending MLR champions, New England Free Jacks, 3-25. Now, in this game, I really felt that New England looked very, very lackluster. Now, Miami, wasn't looking great either. They only scored 3 points in the game. But at the half, it was only 13-3. Up, New England was up. And in the end, New England only ended up scoring up one more try and a penalty kick and ended up beating Miami 25-3. So, again, Miami is a new team. There is a lot of talent on this team as well. But New England is New England. They've been looking very dominant so far this season, and they looked very lackluster in this game. Now, who knows if it might have been the travel to Miami, it might have been just New England not starting all their starters, but they just didn't look nearly as impressive in this game. Miami didn't do much either, only scoring 3 points. Yeah, I mean, you can't win a game by scoring just one penalty kick. But I think it says a lot more about New England than it does about Miami. But I did drop Miami a spot because moving up a spot in an amazing game, a second straight performance, which was amazing by this team, the Dallas Jackals just coming short against Seattle. In Seattle, losing 32-34. This is coming off of losing to the number 1 ranked team, Houston, just by 3 points. Dallas has been looking amazing this season. Like, you cannot take away from Dallas. They are world beaters, and they're playing like world beaters. The only sad thing about this game is that in the game, first of all, shout-outs to Dewal Kutse, the hooker for the Dallas Jackals, scoring 5. Yes, that's right. He scored 5 tries in this game alone. Now, with that being said, you would think you should be winning this game if that's the case. If you're scoring 5 tries by one player. I'm sorry, 4 tries by one player. Either way, 4 tries in one game. That is an MLR record, 4 tries in one game. If you're scoring 4 tries, you should be, by one player alone, you should be winning the game. Unfortunately, in the end, even though Dewal Kutse was able to score 4 tries on his own, and these were all by mauls too. It was interesting. For whatever reason, Seattle just could not answer to Dallas's maul, and all 4 tries by Dewal Kutse, because he is the hooker, was able to score off of a line-out maul, just rolled right into the try zone. It wasn't until the very end, like literally at the last minute, Dallas tried to score again with the maul. Finally, Seattle was able to stop him. But in the end, Seattle was able to win with a Mac Mason penalty kick, able to get ahead 2 points at the very end of the game. Heartbreaker for Dallas. Dallas was very, very good in this game. It just shows you that Seattle, just a little bit more talent, but that's what we expect from a team like Seattle. Like, Seattle is right now my number 2 ranked team. Dallas was number 11. Seattle did Seattle did put up points. 34 points is nothing to sneeze at. But man, Dallas was really trying to win, and they did the same against Houston as well. So I had to give Dallas some credit. I did not feel right keeping them at the 11th spot, so I made the decision, even though Dallas lost, and Miami lost too, though, I switched them because Dallas looks so much better in this performance and their last performance. I mean, again, we're losing only by 3 points to Houston, losing by 2 to Seattle. You gotta give Dallas some credit. You gotta give Dallas credit. They are looking amazing. Much better than what their record shows. And again, they're also playing in a very, very competitive. The Western Conference, like I predicted before, at the beginning of the season, the Western Conference is the more competitive of the 2 conferences. Eastern Conference is technically only 2 teams, though New England is far above NOLA. But it's really those 2 teams, and then everyone else is kind of fighting at the very bottom. Western Conference, everybody is fighting for those top 4 spots. Everybody, even LA. And Dallas is no different. Dallas is just barely ahead of LA, and they are in striking distance to get a playoff spot. And if they keep playing the way that they're playing, especially like they're playing in Seattle, especially like they're playing against Houston, man, Dallas can easily find themselves in a playoff spot and could be a potential playoff spoiler with the way that they're playing. So kudos to Dallas for the way that they played in that game, just coming up short to Seattle, but nothing to be ashamed of. Now, the next two, unfortunately, this game, and of course I watched it, shout out to all the great fans that came out to Waterman's in Hermosa Beach for the watch party. It was a lot of fun. Got to chat to a lot of great RFCLA players, including Sam Walsh, Matt Entisef, the younger players who were unfortunately unable to make the trip to Washington, D.C., but were able to hang out with us at Waterman's. It was a lot of fun. But man, it was a pretty... It was a good game, but a tough game to watch because, again, LA did struggle a lot with penalties, but we'll go into it. In the end, the game, LA versus Old Glory, ended in a draw, 22-22. So, therefore, Old Glory was number 9, LA is number 8. I ended up keeping both teams because it's neither a win nor a loss. So, nobody moves up, nobody moves down. But let's talk about the game. I mean, again, it seemed like this game was almost the exact same as the Dallas game, except instead of Dallas winning by 1, LA and Old Glory ended up just tying. LA, 4 yellow cards, and one of them ended up becoming into a red card because unfortunately there's 2 yellow cards to prop Alex Mahan, and in the game of rugby, just like I believe in soccer as well, if you get 2 yellow cards, you automatically get a red card, and in rugby now, the rule is you're kicked out of the game, and the red card stands for 20 minutes, and then after the 20-minute period, the team that loses the player is allowed to replace them with a different player. The player that got the red card cannot come back throughout the game. And unfortunately, also, too, in Major League Rugby, rightfully so, any red card or any serious offense is evaluated, and there could be a suspension given out. Alex Mahan was given a suspension. It was renounced just recently. He loses a week of play, so he won't be able to play next week against Seattle. But, again, it's just 1 week, so it's not as bad because the penalty really wasn't that bad either. But 4 yellow cards. It's, again, LA, unfortunately, RFCLA is the most penalized team. They have the most yellow cards of any team. I think they have more yellow cards than nearly 2/3 of all the teams in Major League Rugby combined. It's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed because, again, you're down literally a player, at least a player or two throughout 3/4 of the game, and yet you still walk away in enemy territory, traveling to DC, across the country, and still walk away with a tie. It shows a lot of the ability of LA. The defense, phenomenal. Offense is high-powered. It's just the penalties. It's you're shooting yourself in the foot. You can't win these games if you're down a man for a good majority of them. Rugby, if you don't know, is very much a game where you need all 15 players. You need to be at full strength. It's very, very difficult to play a game when you're a man down. And in some instances for this game, 2 men down. So, again, can't say much about it. It's not a loss, but it is a little disappointing because this is a game that I felt, and we'll talk about SuperBru, it felt like a game that LA should have won, but came up with the tie. Coming down a couple of spots, the biggest drop from number 4 to number 7 is Nola Gold, who ended up losing, as I pick this back up, to the Chicago Hounds in a very surprising game. Chicago beating Nola 38-21. Chicago finally looking like the team that we've been waiting for this whole entire season. Don't know what it was that kind of sparked the fire, but man, Nola scores first, and then they were just trading off back and forth. There was a great try by Nola. If you watch it, I highly recommend it. I feel this is the try of the week between newly acquired Ed Fideau, Luke Campbell, and Dougie Fife. The passing back and forth, chef's kiss. It was phenomenal. That was the best try of the week. Unfortunately, Nola wasn't able to capitalize too much off of that. At the half, 14-5, NOLA was up, and then it was all Chicago. Chicago started scoring similar to Dallas off of the maul. 2 of those tries, 4 tries off of mauls and scoring. 2 of them were the 43rd and 44th try by Dylan the Butcher Fawcett, who is still and now solidifying his lead as the top try scorer in MLR history. Rickard Hatting is still behind them, 39 tries, but Dylan Fawcett getting himself a little bit further ahead of Rickard Hatting with his 43rd and 44th try in his career. Phenomenal talent. And yeah, Chicago ended up walking away with the victory in a very, very shocking fashion. Again, looking like the team that we've been kind of predicting for a while, but this whole season hasn't been showing up. We'll see where they go from here, because it could have been just a blip in the season, or maybe it's finally Chicago starting to kind of wake up and figure things out. Number 6, staying at number 6, is the Utah Warriors, who, as I mentioned before, defeated Anthem Rugby Carolina 44-19. Again, Utah did struggle quite a bit at the very first half of the game. Anthem is the number 12 ranked team. Utah did put up 44 points, but they should be doing that, right? Every team who's played Anthem has put up a lot of points. Utah shouldn't have done any different. I don't feel dominating the number 12 ranked team, and it means you go up any. It definitely means you don't slide. So Utah stays at number 6. New England defeating Miami 25-3. They stay at number 5 as well. Because again, you're dominating the second lowest ranking team, and it wasn't really a dominating performance either. 25-3. They kept Miami to 3 points only, but they didn't really score too much. They missed the bonus try in this game, something that they should have had. Granted, Jason Poltros did score technically the 4th try, but it was called back. Unfortunately, if you watched the game, you weren't really sure why it was called back. Basically, the ball goes out of bounds. It goes turned over to the team that didn't touch it last. Thing is, that team can play it. They don't have to do a line out. They can go what's called a quick play if the ball isn't touched by any other hands. And unfortunately, when the ball went out, a Miami player did touch the ball before going back into play. And unfortunately, once the ball is touched by anybody's hands, ball boy, player from a different team, the play is completely dead. And you have to wait until there's a restart officially by the match official. And so, unfortunately, that Jason Poltros try did not count. So, New England stays at number 5. Number 4, the biggest jump up, because rightfully I felt they deserved it, was the Chicago Hounds, going up from number 9 all the way to number 4. A very impressive performance against NOLA. 38-21, finally looking like the team that I feel they should have been. And again, we'll see where this goes. I mean, it could have been just a blip in the system. I honestly never really felt... I think the NOLA being up, they're the second-ranked team in the Eastern Conference. Shockingly, I didn't really feel NOLA was that good. And maybe, again, that's why Chicago was able to beat them. But NOLA is the second-ranked team in the East. They were at the point the number 4 ranked team on my power rankings. So I do feel justifiably they should slide down. And Chicago, that's a big win for them. So they should go up. And then... number 3, San Diego had a bye, so they stay at number 3 because they don't win or lose. And then number 2, man, Seattle pulling off the win over the Dallas Jackals, 34-32. I was debating about sliding Seattle down, but being able to come back from being down as much as Seattle was, having a player on the opposite team scoring 4 tries off of you, it shows a lot of fortitude to Seattle. Now, does that mean Dallas is as good as advertised? Maybe. Does that mean that Seattle is actually better than advertised because they were able to overcome this deficit to Dallas? Maybe. So that's why I kept Seattle at number 2. Didn't move them. And then, of course, your number 1 ranked team, Houston, was also on a bye. So they stay up at number 1. So those are the power rankings. Again, just a little bit of movement. Again, kind of showing what I've, again, talked about a little bit earlier about how the dominant of the Western Conference, your top 3 teams in the power rankings are Western Conference teams. Chicago is slowly making their way up. A big win over NOLA. Utah is technically also in that upper echelon, the 4th-ranked Western Conference team. And then near the bottom is kind of your Eastern Conference group. So, yeah. Those are the power rankings. As always, let me know in my comments what you think of the power rankings. Do you feel teams should be where they are? Do you feel it's justified in moving Dallas up a spot? Because, again, another back-to-back great performance, even though it's a losing performance by that team. Speaking of losing performances, let's talk about SuperBru, and let's talk about this week's winner. Boom! And again, I apologize if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Sari. You are our golden cap holder with 5.5 points. I believe, even though number 2, Theo God, the first time I mentioned this name this season, also was 5.5. I think it's because Sari had every team right in the pick'ems that they were able to get that number 1 golden cap. But either way, great performance by the two of you. Congratulations. JZ3 comes in at number 3 with 5 points, tied with BT Woodrow. And then tied for 5th place, 3-way tie, CrossFox with 4.5 points. MSDRFC 83, Mike, our reigning defending champion, 4.5 points. And Villa Farrell, another great YouTube supporter of mine, and with 4.5 points as well. Congratulations to all of you. Unfortunately, our wooden spoon, you know, it's tough when you're the wooden spoon. I honestly have to say, I've just been getting lucky that I've been avoiding it. But unfortunately, the wooden spoon this time around, Sunshine, hey, hang in there. I know it's not been a good season for me either. So let's talk about our overall rankings. And again, man, I gotta say, this has been an exciting season so far of pickups because once again, we have a new person in first place. Bam! And congratulations, because of getting the golden cap, the performance, Sarai, you are now our number 1 person with 40.08 points. That means Tex, unfortunately, drops down a spot to number 2 with 39.91, but so close behind, less than 2/10 of a point behind. We have that number 3 going up a spot, JZ3, 39.33, dropping a spot down to number 4, Mr. Rugby, 38.08. And then B2 Woodrow, who also had a great performance this week, goes up 2 spots to enter the top 5 with 37.08. The bottom 5 looks pretty much the same. Number 26, Red Baron, hanging in there at 27.25. USA League and Union Rugby fan, congratulations, buddy. You went up a spot. Jumped over me, 26.75, but I'm right behind you, Dogmy, 26.58. And then below me, Lady Julia at 24, and Leon still stuck at the bottom with 20.50. So again, as always, thank you very much for all the people who are participating in the SuperBru Pick'ems. Again, winner at the very end of the season gets themselves a t-shirt of their MLR team of their choice. Again, I'm still opening the pool until the 10th week of action, so we have 4 more weeks of action to decide upon before I'm closing it. No more people can enter into the pool. So if you want to jump in, I mean, chances of winning are kind of off, but hey, you never know. It still is a lot of fun, and man, I'm excited to see. It is still anybody's game. That t-shirt is anybody's from the top 5, top 10 too. I mean, everyone is just bouncing up and down. Except for me. But there's going to be some interesting pick'ems this week. And that's going to be in the next video. So maybe I'll be able to make some noise with some of the drastic picks that I'm going to make. We'll see. But either way, thank you very much as always for watching my video. I appreciate the support. And I'll see you on the pitch.